Okay, so these two images we'd looked at working with in the second week, and at this point I introduced the mask, a vector mask that can be applied to a layer, which will allow you to remove or edit an image to reveal the image, or the layer rather, that's underneath it. It's quite a good method of working because it allows you to erase or give the illusion that you're erasing part of the image, but it gives you complete control because you can bring it back if you make any mistakes. So what I'm going to do first of all is, using the Move tool, have these windows side by side, and we're going to pop the Route 66 image on top of the image of the Monument Valley. So to do that, I'm going to highlight Route 66 just by clicking the top bar up here. You'll notice that it changes all the information when I do that. So this is the image I'm working with, and simply use the Move tool, hold down the left mouse button and drag it over. Now once you're ready, and you'll notice that wee icon with the plus sign, you can let go of the mouse button and that pops the image on top. I no longer need this image, so I can close it, and if I just drag this back up to the bar, I've increased the window size, and you'll notice that I now have these two layers. I can use the Move tool just to sit right on top of each other, and it should snap into place. Now the illusion that I'm going for here is I'm going to remove this blue sky to reveal the clouds that belong to this image. First thing I'm going to do is unlock this background layer, because I'm going to require to edit that. Now if I double click on the background layer, it's going to ask me to name it, and I'm going to name it Monument Valley. So that's where the photograph is taken, and hit OK, and that will remove the lock from it. I'm going to rename the layer 1 to Route 66, because that's again where the image was taken. Now the first thing I'm going to do is actually edit the Monument Valley image. Now what I'm going to begin with is similar to the end of the shark tutorial using the Quick Mask tool. We decreased the opacity of one of the shark layers to give the illusion that it was underwater. If I do the same thing with the Route 66 layer, we'll notice the Monument Valley image starting to creep through. Now whilst it's the Route 66 image that we're playing about with here, the reason I'm doing this is so that we can see, if you look, you'll notice the horizon line for both images kind of meeting each other. But ideally what I'm looking for is to have the Monument Valley, these kind of mountains or rocks, to be below the horizon. So I don't want them creeping up when I then rub out part of Route 66. So what I'm going to do is go onto the Monument Valley layer, go to my Edit Transform, Scale, and very slightly, holding the Shift key, increase the size of the image. Okay, I'm just going to move using the mouse, or you can use the arrow keys if you wish, to make sure that I'm happy with the fact that these rocks aren't protruding through the horizon line of the Route 66. Commit that transform back onto my Route 66, and if I bring the opacity up, just keeping your eye on the horizon, you'll notice that that's completely hiding Monument Valley. Okay, so now time to apply the mask. Down at the bottom here, you'll notice the icon for Add Layer Mask. Again, if you're ever unsure what they are, hover over them and a wee box will appear telling you. Now when I click on that, you'll notice that this panel then appears linked to this layer. And how it works is, it works with two colours, okay, opposites of each other, white and black. Now at the moment, the white represents a kind of almost like a transparent mask. So you'll notice that there's no effect or difference or change in this image. Now when I put black onto this, what will happen is it will remove from the mask therefore rubbing away from this image. I'll give you an example of that. Now your colour setup is down here. If it's different colours, you can click on this icon, which will restore it to default foreground and background colours of white and black. You can also flip between the two. Now I'm going to work with black. As I said, I need that because it's the opposite of white here, and I'm going to use the brush tool. At this point I can go up to the properties and attributes for my brush. I can increase the size of it, pixels. You'll notice again getting bigger. I can also adjust the hardness of it. 100% makes it a solid circle, or reducing the hardness will soften it and feather the edges. Not too fussed at the moment, but I'll keep it kind of midway. That's a decent size for my brush. The other thing I'm going to check is actually the opacity. I want the opacity to be fully 100% because I want it to completely take away this blue part of the sky. If I only wanted to remove a slight section of it to kind of reveal very briefly what was underneath it, I could adjust the opacity, and that would affect almost the strength of how hard you're leaning down on the brush, or in this case it's really taking place of a rubber, so how hard you're leaning down on the rubber would affect the effect on the image based on the opacity. So we've got it up at 100%. Using the brush on the mask, not on the image, on the mask, we're starting to paint, and you'll notice that it just rubs out. Like so. And when I start getting near the edge, what I'm going to do is just zoom in. So I can be a bit careful. Now, just before I go any further, you see that now, you see the black area I've just painted onto this mask is now removed from this image. They're attached, and the great thing about it is it's not actually affecting the image, it's still there. Now, I'll show you an example of that. If I then flip back to white and paint on, brings back the Route 66 image. And that's why this mask tool, or this technique, is an extremely handy tool to use, because if you make any mistakes you can always bring it back. Bring it back to the way that I want it, fully removing, painting onto the mask. Zoom in for accuracy. And this is where you might actually want to decrease the hardness, so you've got a kind of nice blend or blurred edge appearing. Once you're happy with that, that's essentially it, and that's what the mask does.